Happy Friday, and thanks for tuning into RadioFreeRhinecliff.org. And this show in particular, correct me if I'm Norm, I'm your host, Norm, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Jaime Ransome. How's it going? And I just asked you, because I saw somewhere, looking you up on the interwebs today, you've got a cool middle name as well.
Yes, my middle name is Ernestina.
And is that a family name?
It is. It's my grandmother's name. My grandmother's name is Ernestine. Everybody called her Teeny.
Teeny.
She was my height, and she was like the sweetest woman in the entire world. So my middle name is Ernestina.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Mom or dad's mom?
My mom's mom.
Uh-huh. And where is she still with us?
She actually died, oh my gosh, it's been like 2 or 3 years now.
I'm sorry.
But she was the most wonderful woman in the world, probably the closest to a saint that I've ever met in my... She actually was going to be a nun, but she met my grandfather instead.
I love that. And where did she live?
She lived in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah, she was she was born in Virginia, moved up to Massachusetts very young. She was the oldest of a bunch of kids, and then they all had kids, so I grew up big family on my mom's side in Boston and big family on my dad's side in New Jersey, North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And grandpa who like lured her out of the convent?
He was a very jolly man, very charismatic man, just like a large, happy man who cooked amazing food. And yeah, he was the type to like flirt with every waitress he met. But he charmed her. I think there was a story about some kind of dance. He was like in the military. She was training to be a nun, but she was like still like, and she went to nursing school eventually. And they met at a dance, and he asked her to dance, and she said no. And then he met her at the next dance, and she asked him, "Why didn't you ask me to dance this time?" He said, "Last time you told me no, so I was just gonna respect that." And she was like, "Wow, that's like really sweet." And then
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's a beautiful story of consent and respecting boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. And also family lore. I love the stories that live in the family.
Oh yeah. And like I always find the randomness of how people meet to be one of the most beautiful things about being alive, because my mom told me my birth story recently, and I won't tell it on camera because it's, a birth story, but like my conception story. But
I see.
Yeah, sorry, not the birth story, the conception story. She told it to me recently, and I was like, wow, things are so random and crazy. And like I was conceived under a full moon, and that I feel like has affected a lot of how I go and about the world and see everything. And I'm just like so entranced by how incredible that is that me and all 4 of my siblings even exist.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's literally incredible. My parents met at a Purple Rain concert. My dad asked her friend to dance, and she said no. And then my dad asked my mom to dance, and she said yes. My mom was going to go out with him again, but he had a car. Like, and me and my siblings are all out in the world just doing things like because of small little things like that.
Right. And so at a Prince concert?
Yeah, a Purple Rain concert, like inspired by the movie. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And where are you in the birth order?
I'm the first.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm the first of 4.
So in what other ways do you feel that you were sort of shaped by the full moon under which you were conceived?
Well, I'm also a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius have 3 things about them that they're very specific. We are adventurous, we are optimistic, and we also have this weird connection to like faith is the word that comes up, but it's like any kind of like, we're very idealistic and connected to the mythical, either via like traditional religion or like having a mythical connection to just like the world and how we see things. I'm definitely the second one. And I always felt like it was because I was like born with like a very open heart. And the more that you like learn about the moon and moon goddesses, there's always like that tends to come up over and over again. So I don't know, my spiritual side is very connected to the moon and to my femininity and to feminism. My mom raised me a strong feminist, and I take that into everything that I do. So the moon respect is there.
And what kinds of like tenets did she like, give you on the feminist front? What did she?
We used to have practice on saying no. Like when you didn't want.
I love that so much. And not just for women, but for everybody, for every young person, but maybe sadly, especially important for women.
Yeah, she would like have us practice saying it as loud as we possibly could without restriction. She'd
I
be like,
love
no,
that.
As if you're actually in danger. And she always used the term woman up instead of man up my entire life to make sure that we always knew that like women's strength was equal to, if not greater than man. She's just every single chance my mom gets to just like remind everybody how powerful women are as a group together, individually. When my mom gave us the talk about our period, she included my brother in on the conversation. She drew diagrams. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, informing, the males in the family as well. Like, here's what's going on.
I plan on taking a lot of those tenets. My partner are thinking about having kids, and whenever we like have conversations about how we want to raise things, whenever like we see things on TV, we're like, we're definitely not doing that, or we definitely are. We just had a conversation about what we're gonna do with sex education in our house, and my partner's like, I'm not telling them anything they don't need to know, and I'm like, when I was 12, 13 years old, my mom took us all on a walk around the neighborhood and asked us if we understood what oral sex was. And then gave us the information that we needed so that when it came up in our lives, we'd be prepared. And I thought that was sick, so cool, like the best thing. And I plan on doing that for my kids.
That she shared that with you instead of it being a mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I've been watching a lot of Bridgerton. And that's like a core element of the show is the lack of sex education between the generations.
Oh, wow.
They like added that as an element in the first season. And for the first half of the second season that I just watched, they did it again, where literally the daughter asked her mother point blank what an orgasm was. And her mother could not and would not tell her.
Right. Jeez. So let me ask, I'm just curious, your mom, for people who don't know, your mom is a writer.
Yes.
And she writes especially children's books.
Young adult novels.
Young adult novels. I've read the children's book. I'm not sure I've read any of her novels.
She's been transitioning. Her books have grown up as we have. So when we were super young, she was doing like picture books.
That's
and then
so
we
sweet.
grew into teenagers. She's like, okay, yeah, these more mature. But now she's been working really hard on historical fiction. Her most recent book, not most recent. No, she's been doing a few since then. One of her biggest achievements recently was for Big Open Sky. She got a Coretta Scott King Award. We all went to the ceremony in Philadelphia, and it was amazing. And that book is about African American pioneers traveling the Oregon Trail, and is told from the perspective of 3 different women and how they navigate the crazy cultural realities of that trip beyond the actual physical toll that is traveling across the United States in literally a covered wagon.
Right. So cool. I brought up your mom's job because you were talking about the things that she told you when you were younger about feminism stuff. Has she ever written those things into a book?
Yes. So that book is an example of how she will like put as an underlying theme and everything, because that book is specifically written from those points of view so that you can see how the women would deal with the situation under normal circumstances. You would hear everybody's perspective. She's like, no, just the women's perspective as to how they got here.
Right.
And the stories that she tells of how they got there are insane. She also is writing another book, and she's going to kill me for not remembering, but there's a book that she was doing about constellations and about women who look at the skies and navigate through that kind of astrological understanding. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not going to say anymore because I'm going to butcher the very vital information. You should all go to her website, Lesa, Lesa, Cline-Ransome, Lesa Cline-Ransome. Google her, it'll come up immediately. She's an amazing writer.
Right, she is. And your dad is an amazing artist.
Yes.
And illustrator.
My father, the artist Ransome, he prefers to go by just Ransome.
Ransome.
Yes. He is he's an amazing painter. I'm actually very lucky. The very first exhibition I ever curated was an exhibition of his. And then one of the first exhibitions that I curated here in Poughkeepsie on my own as an independent curator was an exhibition of his. I like to try to have my hands. He's on such an amazing track right now with his professional painting career. Not just painting, collage, installation. He's in Key West right now, or is traveling tomorrow to go down for a solo show there. He has been making these amazing installations.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. You sound pretty proud of both your parents.
I am.
That's
Yes.
lovely. What do I want to ask you? Oh, yeah. You talked about just a second ago about all of these things that made me think of something I read you wrote. I love fiction. Oh, you didn't write it. It was an interview. Oh. I love fiction. I love fiction literature as a way to transmute a bunch of real stories into one fictional story that could be more true than the individual stories.
Yes, that's like a major tenement of my personality.
Such an interesting thought. But it also reminded me of that thought often attributed to Picasso, that art is the lie that tells the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Fiction is so fascinating to me in that way. And I think last time we were here, I was reading Octavia Butler.
Okay.
I was reading Parable of the Sower, and if I wasn't, I was right about. Yeah, I was like halfway through one of the books or something at that point, and that is like a science fiction is the epitome of that point. That's kind of where I go with that. Is that like science fiction, when done well, should be all the things that are actually happening exaggerated so you can see the consequences.
Right. And for people who didn't connect the dots or don't know, she was a science fiction writer and a famous feminist.
The godmother of Afrofuturism.
Afrofuturism. Can you please describe what that is?
Afrofuturism is the understanding of science fiction through the African-American lens, so centering African-American people as the main characters, but also understanding that African-American perspectives may be different than non-African-American perspectives, and writing those stories in ways that highlight and understand and represent and explore those differences. Octavia Butler does that the best, I feel like, of the people that I've read recently, because she kind of originated it, and because she tells a very specific story that resonates on so many levels, and I strongly suggest that everybody read Parable of the Sower and its sequel, Parable of the Talents. The books take place in 2024 and document the apocalypse. Yes.
And when were they written?
They were written in 1993, the year that I was born.
Okay.
Which I also think is
amazing. And you used a line from one of her books as the title of a current show. Is that correct?
Past show. This time last year, I was putting together The Destiny. Is our route to Amongst the Stars, is an exhibition at Ann Street Gallery that I did put together, which is an Afrofuturism exhibition that I put together.
Newburgh.
Which is in Newburgh, yeah. Right. That exhibition was fantastic. Such an amazing experience. Got to work with 5 artists that I really respect. And actually, one of those artists I'm working with again in my upcoming exhibition at Dutchess Community College.
Oh, and when is that? When does that open?
That exhibition will be opening February 25th. That's when the opening reception will be, February 25th, at Dutchess Community College, Mildred, Washington Gallery. That exhibition includes 3 artists: Alicia Scalianos-Carter, which is the artist that I worked with in The Destiny, and Anna Maria Farina, who is an artist who has worked with Ann Street Gallery as well. She actually recently finished a fellowship there. And Leslie Fandrich, and she is a local teacher and maker. She lives in Newburgh as well. She's fantastic. It's an exhibition of soft sculpture, collage, and drawing, printmaking by these 3 artists, and it's all going to include elements of monsters. It's kind of like a collage of monster figures, and I'll be holding my curator talk on the 26th to talk about why I selected the artists and how they fit together, because it's like visually monsters in through different perspectives, but the theme is more about how we view women through like lenses of viewing them as individual pieces.
Okay. And I half expected you to say people sometimes viewing them as monsters.
Yes, viewing them as monsters, but also kind of like what happens. It's kind of like an exquisite corpse where everybody adds a little bit to the story. Right. Everybody kind of puts on their own layers of their own insecurities when they view other people. And so the show is about like drawing out what you are actually bringing to the table as far as your fear of your own body, and less of how you monsterize other people and more how you like monsterize yourself in comparison to other people.
Right. The lenses that you're wearing as an individual and art viewer. That's amazing. So will that be part of sort of the curator's statement when people are going into the show? Because that was a great sentence.
There is a summary of the exhibition in the press release, and it'll be up. I believe it's up on the Dutchess Community College website as well. If you go to the Mildred Washington Gallery page, it'll be on there under upcoming exhibitions. I have a little blurb that we have for all the information, but there isn't going to be any wall text in the gallery except for probably the title. That's why the curator talk is coming in, so I can give that verbal context. It's also on a college campus, so we're trying to get students in to hear what the curatorial process is like and how curators make those kind of decisions between metaphor and visual art.
So after your talk, the curator's talk, will there then be wall text?
No, there won't.
So you're just shit out of luck if you can't make the talk.
Yeah. Most of the time I do, but Mildred Washington Gallery is very specific in how they lay things out. And so there may be a change in leadership in the future that might allow for that to become a part of the new regime.
Oh, is that they have rules like no wall text?
It's not a rule. It's just like standards. Like
Right.
people, I find that people in galleries are very interested in making sure that things are standard and cost and easy to put up and take down when you do a lot of exhibitions.
Right.
So some places that have a lot of volunteers will forego wall text because it requires someone to individually go and add it to the wall a lot of the time, or to print extra pieces. And so the exhibition I just did at Bow Gallery in Beacon, that exhibition is still up right now, called Crazy. And we foregoed a informational text about why the exhibition was like that, because we wanted the work to speak to itself, and because of the nature of what happens when you have an artist-run gallery. Everybody is a volunteer, which means that the kind of help that I used to have at the Trolley Barn Gallery when I had like teenagers who were getting paid to do the work, I could tell them to take a whole day and do the individual lettering that is required to put it on a wall cling. But a lot of the smaller galleries I'm finding don't have those resources or time.
Right. So this show at the Mildred Washington Gallery, what's it called?
It's called Weird Sisters.
Weird Sisters. I love that. And it's the three artists you mentioned.
Yeah.
All female identifying artists.
Yes.
And let me ask a question. I saw that in something right online that you refer to them as female identifying. And I thought, wow, okay, it's sort of more inclusive than just saying like female. Is that sort of a current standard in the art world?
I wouldn't say it's a current standard unless you work at a place that champions queer artists. It's kind of one of those things like when maybe like 5 years ago we all started putting our pronouns after everything, even if we weren't trans,
Right.
to show respect for the fact that there are people who may not identify
Right.
with the words that we're using.
Right.
It's a show of respect that I like to use in all of my language. We did the same thing with the Crazy exhibition. It was for female identifying artists because for the call, I wanted people who were trans female to be able to apply.
Right.
And I was willing to make special exceptions for people who are trans male, depending on what the art was about. So I wanted to keep that open.
Right.
And one of these artists is queer, and that's not the reason why I put female identifying. I put female identifying because I just want to make sure to be clear that I am pro all women, and that I like that standard of just recognizing that, like, no matter how you identify gender-wise, if you identify as female, then you should be open to this space.
Right. And open to be in that show.
Yeah.
And how did you find these three? I know you do a lot of open calls.
Yeah, but as an independent curator, my training is in more of an invitational aspect. Calls is more like the standard that happens at like smaller galleries because it creates income and also because it creates access. But most galleries, museums, which is what I'm trained in, select their artists by knowing the art world that they are in, by knowing the community of artists that are available to them, by having a vast network of artists that they know what they're doing, know what's happening next, know what their standards are for their gallery expectations. And I'm also an artist consultant, so I work with a bunch of artists now in the Hudson Valley who actually pay me for my time to help them get into art spaces. So between those two things, I have a very long list of artists that I see on a regular basis, go to studio visits with regularly. I'm also I just did a visiting criticship at Wasaic Project. Those are relationships that I cultivate when I really get really excited about someone. I will totally follow up. I'll see which they're showing in. I'll go see their shows and their openings. I'll talk to their collectors and just try to make sure that I know everything about them so that when opportunities present themselves, I can do this. Like Leslie Frandrich, I met going to...
She's one of the artists in Weird Sisters.
She's one of the artists in Weird
Right.
Sisters. I met her going to Newburgh Open Studios.
Cool.
The Atlas studio was open. She was on the second floor. She was like one of 7 places I went to in that building. I walked in and I was like, oh my God, I love it in here. This art is amazing. This is great. And then by the end of the week, I had her submit to the Crazy exhibition. She has a piece of art up in the Crazy exhibition at Bow that's open. That exhibition is open until February 8th. And then she'll be in Weird Sisters next. And we just met through that. And Elisa, my dad showed me an interview from her from 10 years ago. And I was obsessed with her. And then I was working at the Trolley Barn. They're like, we need artists. I was like, can I go on a visit with her? We met and got coffee. I'm obsessed with her.
This is Elisa
Scalianos Carter. Yeah. She's actually really prolific. She just finished her master's degree at Rutgers. So I went to her studio. I went to her exhibition, her thesis exhibition at Rutgers to pick up art from her to take to the Destiny.
And was she the painter?
She was the printmaking artist. She does like a multidisciplinary artist. She did the Afro knots, so the glitter hair paint and sculpture. They weren't sculpture, but they were large prints.
Right. And who was the third artist in Weird Sisters?
And the third artist is Anna Maria Farina. She just finished up her fellowship at Ann Street Gallery. So I met her because I worked at the Destiny. I love Ann Street Gallery. I went to their event for Newburgh Open Studios. I talked to Anna Maria. She said she loved Elisa's work and she'd love to work with her. And I found an opportunity for them to do so.
It's so cool. So for this show anyway, they're all artists you were introduced to in sort of the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
Do they all live around here as well?
They all live within New York State. Anna Maria is in Beacon. Leslie is in Newburgh. And Elisa is outside of Albany.
And is that important to you to represent local-ish artists?
Oh, yeah. The Hudson Valley is my specialty. I have the ability to work outside the Hudson Valley and to work on a larger scale and to work in museums. But my heart is in Poughkeepsie. Like, my partner asks me every month when we're moving out of Poughkeepsie, and I have to tell him, I don't think we are.
And what does he do?
He works in security right now. His undergraduate degree is in sports management. He actually recently had brain surgery, so he's in between jobs. He had brain surgery in December.
Wow.
So we just came out of a period of like crazy recovery, and I jumped right back into the frying pan.
Right. And he's doing all right?
He's doing all right. It was actually an incredibly successful surgery. It's just brain surgery, you know, but the doctor said that normally brain surgery is like separating pink jello from red jello. But with his particular condition, it was more like separating red jello from an olive. So they were like, plucked it right out.
Is that literally what the surgeon said?
That is literally what his neurosurgeon said.
Love that.
I was like, if you're that confident, so
you got to get your dad to paint that. I want to see that.
Perfect visual. I was like, okay, so he's doing really well. He has a GoFundMe up. The link is on my Instagram at jransome.curator. If you want to support his recovery, he just isn't allowed to work for a while after the brain surgery.
And so he wants to. Is he from around here?
No, he's from Syracuse, and he went to school in Massachusetts and college in Chicago. So he has no connection to this area. I dragged him down here to work at the trolley barn.
And how did you all meet?
At an art gallery. His mom ran the first art gallery that I ever worked at, Community Folk Art Center in Syracuse. His mother was the director, and she also taught some classes at the Syracuse University. And that gallery was a community gallery. So it was an art gallery, a black box theater, a ceramic studio, a dance studio, and a visual arts studio. And they hosted weekend arts classes for kids. He ran the weekend classes for kids. He was the administrator and the main art handler, and his mom was the director.
Wow.
I worked at Chipotle. He was like, you cannot do this anymore. Come work for my mom. I started as her assistant, became the curatorial assistant, and then eventually the curator, and then went back and got my master's because I was already doing the work. And so our relationship, and then he taught me how to handle art. Like, we literally fell in love, like staying late at the gallery, hanging art together.
I love that. How to hang and how to handle. I mean,
how to hang and how to handle. That's what his mother trained him in unofficially, but like he's completely trained as an art handler. He's handling art at that gallery for 10 years. He was the main installer at the space. So when I became the curator, I became his boss. He had to hang for me instead of us hanging together, and it was very cute.
You became his boss. And how does that sort of like filter down into your off art gallery relationships?
It means that whenever I have a show to hang, he's always like, "Ugh, do I have to come and just like do everything?" I'm like, "No, I don't need an expert. We have other people to do these things." But he's always right there next to me. He's like literally my biggest cheerleader. I actually have to stop taking him places. He'll spend the entire time just like being like, "Did you hear what Jamie was doing? Did you?" I'm like, "I'm trying to have like normal
that's
I'm
so
trying to ask about
sweet.
them."
That's just wonderful.
And he's just always, but he's like, he's my biggest champion. He's always willing to hang a show. He's an expert. He's a perfectionist.
So what's his beef with Poughkeepsie?
It's just, Poughkeepsie has a lot of work to do to make it into the things that we had planned for pre-COVID. I wasn't here pre-COVID, but there are people in the community who've been doing this work pre-COVID who had some really big plans for where Poughkeepsie was going to go as far as the art world, and it got slowed to a halt, almost reversed with those like 3 years off of people not participating.
Right.
Main Street needs a lot of love. It's like an amazing like Tower of Babel style community center area where everybody comes. It has its own traffic laws based on cultural expectations, and it has the people there who are always there and the people there who have to go through there in order to get to other places. You have to go through Main Street if you actually live in Poughkeepsie. So it's a part of everybody's day in life, and yet the city hasn't really poured the love into it that it needs, or maybe we just got like a $10 million bid for the business district. I'm hoping that they pour a lot of that into Main Street because it's the main street. Like if you get off the train, you have to go there. And all the galleries are there, but they're only within a 2-block radius. So only like 3 galleries in Poughkeepsie, period. The art spaces, everything needs love. And he can see how much love it needs. He's not as patient as I am.
I see. And what are the 3 galleries on Main Street?
Conveyor Gallery on Main Street on the 200 block. Woman's Work Gallery above the Woman's Work.art is the gallery space above Keenan Hackett Theater on Vassar Street. And Gallery 40 on Cannon Street are the 3 galleries. I'm actually part of a group trying to put together more programming within that block area. There's a lot of other art source institutions, but those are the only galleries. We're trying to start some kind of PK art mile there's like a mile, 1.2 miles between Keenan Hackett Theater and Gallery 40. We're trying to put together a program where we can bring out U-Haul trucks to fill the space and do pop-up galleries on the street. We're trying to do that.
Cool.
We're hoping for early June.
Wow.
And then we're also doing Poughkeepsie Open Studios, which we do every year. And this year, instead of one person running it, it is a collaborative community effort of about 7 to 10 volunteers, all committing their time to revamp it, to make it into something new and beautiful and exciting, and really help the artists of Poughkeepsie, because I would like it to be closer to a art fair, but like an art fair that's an artist-run art fair where artists get to represent their space, represent their work, talk to collectors. Like that's how I met Leslie, was through an open studios.
Right.
So I want to have space for people to meet the artists that we have here and give them artist opportunities. I'm like just worked at Carrie Haddad for 8 months and like re-honed my art sales ability.
An amazing gallery in Hudson.
Yeah, the amazing gallery in Hudson. They should be having their 35th anniversary this year. They're the longest running gallery in Hudson. They're female owned since the very beginning. And they have like a roster of like 60 amazing artists that they sell their art regularly. Like every day they sell art. And I just realized that it's totally possible. So I want to bring that to Poughkeepsie. I want people buying Poughkeepsie art, investing in the Hudson Valley. This is the space that birthed the Hudson Valley School. So I'm trying to like force a renaissance in this area to remember that like this is where artists come to relax and to re-inspire themselves and to start something new. The Edward Hopper House right now is working with Indira Avaskaroon of the Brooklyn Museum, and she is awesome. So like we should be tapping those young, fantastic minds from New York City, bringing them up here, having them recognize what's already happening here, and just investing their money and making sure those artists are supported.
Right. Now, Upstate Art Weekend does a lot of that for this
They
area.
do. I like Upstate Art Weekend. There is a lot of controversy.
Oh, good.
Around.
Let's hear it.
There's a lot to be said about I don't like people demonizing Helen Toomer, because I think that Helen Toomer, the woman who runs it, is just filling a need. I
Yeah.
think that people are just mad that she got to it first, honestly, with a lot of things, because what she's doing is trying to connect all those individual places that already have amazing arts programming and giving them an opportunity to list off all the best things that they have
And she's
for the community.
she's succeeding.
And she's
It's
absolutely
amazing.
succeeding. However, I have also heard from the people boots on the ground who are doing quote unquote her work for her, people
Yeah.
who participate, that like it's oversaturated now. It's not long enough, and also too long. Like you can't, because there's so many places participating, there's no way to pull someone from one city to the next. You just have to pick a city and hope that you can see everything there. And just like, okay, I'm going to Woodstock instead of going to Newburgh. Okay, I'm going to Kingston instead of going to Poughkeepsie. Like, and then the other place. So there are places in Poughkeepsie, like Poughkeepsie doesn't even really participate in Upstate Open Studios or Upstate Art Weekend or the Open Studios that they now have, because the support is minimal as far as the organization actually supporting the even working at Carrie Haddad, we did Upstate Art Weekend last year, and I had to like email someone for a map. Like, we're the oldest gallery in Hudson. Why were you not calling us, asking us why we haven't applied yet?
Right.
So like, there's no research being done into who's participating and why and what they're benefiting from it. And there's no actual connection between the Upstate Art Weekend people and the people who are participating. So it feels like you pay a chunk of money for them to then make you do all your own marketing when they promise they do all your marketing.
Oh, the galleries who are participating.
Exactly.
And who comes to that? Who are the viewers?
It's New York City people mostly. Anybody who loves to come to Upstate for a weekend.
Right.
So sometimes it's like people who are further away in Upstate, but it's mostly geared toward people in the city who have an appreciation for art, who maybe have weekend time and spare money, and can really invest back into these things.
Right.
But what it causes is complete competition between every single art space at the same time. So now we're all competing for the same group of rich, wealthy people who are going to come change our lives that they only get to see what we're doing.
Right. But rich, wealthy people, if they're from the city, who are used to the idea that they're not going to hit all the galleries.
Yeah.
Like, they're going out on a Saturday and they're not going to see everything in Chelsea.
And people have already developed their favorites. Not a lot of people are going to new places. They're going to the places where they know they got a great experience last time. Nobody's like experimenting with like, oh, we went to Woodstock last year. Let's go over to the other side of the river. And I don't think anyone's saying that. They're going to their same thing. Okay, that's good because you live here.
Yeah.
And you want to experience what Hudson Valley has to offer. And you know that there's so much more to it than what is listed.
Yeah.
So like you go looking for those things. I don't think that people who get the list can decipher between all the same font of what they actually want to do.
It's tough. And there's a map with numbers. Then you got to like look, see what the number is, where it is.
So that's where the competition comes in. Now I have to do all my own marketing because now instead of me battling against other art spaces in my city, I'm battling against spaces in different cities for your attention.
Right.
Now I don't just have to be like, oh, I'm better than Wham. I have to be like, I'm better than Wham and Ann Street Gallery and Bow Gallery and Carrie Haddad. And I don't even do what Carrie Haddad does, but you should come to me anyway.
But I don't see any of that. I don't see any like galleries doing sort of individual advertising for Upstate Art Weekend. Like, come here, not there.
Really? Because that's all I see. During the weeks before, it's everybody putting Upstate Art Weekend's logo on the stuff they were already making.
Yeah.
And then sending it out. But Upstate Art Weekend isn't making that. We're making that stuff and putting Upstate Art Weekend's logo on it. So now I'm doing the marketing that you promised me that you were going to do. You just give me the resources and then say, if I hashtag Upstate Art Weekend, but everybody's hashtagging Upstate Art Weekend that weekend. So how am I distinguishing myself?
Right. It would be amazing if they were in Poughkeepsie.
Well,
or if the Poughkeepsie galleries were a part of that.
We have tried. We can't afford the base fee a lot of the places because they're supported by the galleries in Poughkeepsie are all funded by the people who run them. They are not funded. They're not nonprofits. They rely on art sales. They are fine arts galleries that are run by individuals who care a lot and have the resources, the small amount of resources to pay out of pocket for the baseline fee. But when people have already decided that Poughkeepsie is not a fine art place to go, they don't check Poughkeepsie to see what it's up to, especially when places like our OMI are doing like a whole fire festival during the weekend. They're not going to be like, let's go try out that place that like is good to that next to that good Mexican food spot that I never go to.
Right. Tell me about the Trolley Barn Gallery.
Yes. The Trolley Barn Gallery. Way to distract me. I respect you, Helen Toomer. Just rethink it.
I was just gonna circle around to that.
Yeah.
Because it's clear you think she's doing a great job, but also that there's ways that you think.
She sees the moment.
Yeah.
I would have seized that moment if I had those resources.
Absolutely. Trolley Barn Gallery.
The Trolley Barn Gallery closed on January 10th
that was
of 2020.
On Main Street?
Yeah, of 2025.
Okay.
So I ran the gallery from May of 2022 until it closed in January 10th of 2025. It closed because Poughkeepsie doesn't know how to communicate with itself, and the two organizations in charge of revitalizing the building weren't able to work out an agreement, and so the building was no longer available to the artifact. And instead of moving the gallery and the curatorial program that I'd created to a new location, they decided that it made more sense to just eliminate the program entirely.
And what was the program? Who you said Artifact?
The Artifact runs a bunch of workforce programs that pay kids to learn professional development skills. My program was the professional development skill of curation, art handling, and art writing. So I taught teenagers from the Hudson Valley who needed work how to install exhibitions, write calls for juried shows, jury the exhibitions, work with guest curators, install the exhibitions, work with artists for artist communication, and put on the exhibitions events that would support it based on what they thought that the Hudson Valley would need. And that worked in conjunction with our YADS program run by Destiny Ariana, an artist that I love, who worked with students to do community engagement outside of the gallery that reflected the art we were doing inside. So there was a social justice, community engagement, fine art collaboration between the two programs. They both worked out of the Trolley Barn Gallery on Main Street in Poughkeepsie, which is an amazing industrial space that the Artifact and the other organization were going to revitalize, put a $2 million campaign into renovating, but that partnership fell through, and so the gallery was no longer available as a space. And yeah,
Go on. Sorry.
It was already an uphill battle trying to convince people that teenagers were effective enough to run a fully functioning gallery, even though I had done it for 2.5 years. But the financial burden of running a gallery was too much for this arts education organization to support without having a partnership. So,
right.
Yeah.
And it was a gorgeous space. It was
amazing.
It was huge.
It was a 3,000 foot industrial space. We installed echo, like sound things to make it not echo in there. 2 movable walls. Three movable walls. A projector, sound speakers, a movable stage. So we can put on we put on the PKX festival in there. We put on solo shows, group shows, anime exhibition that included a costume contest, movie nights, a 90s themed party that included like a mixtape making station, collage making station, fix up your clothes DIY station. We did literally everything in there, and we did everything based on what the students of the community thought that would be best for that. And I was there to advise their execution and advise them on how the art world works and give them that kind of work. A lot of my students still do like minor art handling or work with other arts organizations doing stuff like that. It was really one of the most beautiful experiences of my life.
It sounds amazing. Sounds like an amazing program and a great gig for you.
Absolutely.
And clearly you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Is there any thought of trying to resuscitate that in Poughkeepsie?
No, unfortunately. I teach now at Dutchess Community College to satisfy my need to express art to the younger generation. I teach art history for non-art majors, Art 104 at Dutchess Community College, which is fantastic because I get to explain art history in a non-chronological order. We get to explain it by theme. So much fun.
How many themes do you cover?
I think it's 7 weeks of themes. Women in art, art and religion, art as power, art in the modern times, because we talk about contemporary art and video art, and I love explaining performance art to people who have no idea what performance art is.
Lay it on me.
Because it really just like explode. Like, I'm obsessed with Yoko Ono. Okay? Yoko Ono is like she's like one of the godmothers of performance art. She is part of Fluxum, which is a performance art group that she was a pianist first. And so her art stems from music, but she almost never uses that. That's why her and John Lennon had a connection, was that connection. But her cut piece is always terrifying to watch for the first time because it is a piece about boundaries. Yeah.
Can you describe what happened?
Yeah, so Yoko Ono in cut piece. She does a few of them, but the one that's available on Vimeo that you can see, she sits in the center of the room in her favorite outfit, and she hands a pair of scissors to one audience member at a time. They come up to her, she hands them a piece of scissors, and they're allowed to cut a piece of her clothing off of her body and then hand her the scissors back and take the piece of clothing. I heard that she also had them mail those scraps to their loved ones as well.
So sweet.
Exactly. So the piece is about boundaries. So everyone has the option to cut off a piece, but you'll see that the women are more tender about how they go about that process. And you'll also find that some of the men take some liberties with where they choose to cut and like the angle of the scissors when they approach her.
Yeah.
Some people will think that they have the right to like get really close to her, and some people are just like, oh my God, I shouldn't even be up here.
Right.
And so you get to see a lot of people when they see performance art, because performance art isn't just about the performer. It's about how you respond to their actions as someone, like that's what Marina Abramovich did, was that looking directly in your eye and just seeing what that brings out in you.
Right. Which is, Marina did pieces sort of about trust, but one of the things about Cut Piece, the Yoko Ono thing, is it really seemed as much about how she, the artist, responded to everything, and with trust.
Yeah.
To watch her just
She's at peace.
trusting that things are going to be okay, despite people like, not sort of being the most delicate with their
There's
cutting.
one guy like in the first like 3 minutes who like cuts a piece, like takes the piece in front of her nipple and pulls it out and slices that piece off. And everybody always like, and I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And so what about, so you use that to describe performance art to your students?
Yeah, I actually used to I went through a phase where at the beginning of every class, I would read a piece, one of her pieces, because she has the written book, Grapefruit, that has all of her like written little performance pieces. And I used to read one to my class at the beginning of every session to get them in a creative mindset, because it's always like, look up at the sun, imagine it melting into your hands, wash your face with it. Summer 2026 or 1936. I'm like, what the-
Right. And so do you also teach conceptual art to the kids?
Yeah. We don't go through chronologically, but we do talk about different eras in time. So there's at the end, I try to sum it kind of all up in more. We do art and pop culture, and then we do art and digital culture as like a 2-part ending to the class.
Okay.
And so the pop culture, I was actually surprised when I taught this last year. The kids are too young now. They don't remember Che Guevara.
Oh, right.
So
But
I have a whole...
they probably still see the T-shirts.
But that's exactly the point, is that I show them the picture and I'm like, hey, what do you know this from? Who is this guy? And now they kind of have more of an idea. And that image is the most reproduced image in art history.
I find
like,
that easy to believe.
Yeah, it's like very easy to believe. But like when you think about all the other images that have been mass produced, like Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe, you're like, wait, that outdid even that piece that was done by an actual artist. This is like a picture that's like rendered by a company that then is put onto a shirt, and it becomes the most mass-produced image in the world, in like all of art history.
Is it knowable who the artist was who did that?
Yes, it is. There's a photographer who took the picture, and then there's a person who translated it into the graphic image. You can find both those people's names, and they're, as far as I'm aware, not crazy famous. They just like did that work and moved on with their lives.
Yeah, they probably got paid $150.
Exactly. Yeah, and so there's like a bunch of things like that where I'm just like, the piece that you think is just like, I try to talk to them about just how much they realize they've already seen all the art that I've been telling them.
Right.
That like, no matter what I show you, you already have seen a version of this somewhere, whether someone remade it, whether you saw the version that came before the one I'm showing you, whether someone like put it on the outside of a label for something to prove a point, you've already seen all these pictures.
Right.
So I just try to summarize that point at the end and be like, so much so that you don't even know what you know.
Right. And do you talk to your students about art and capitalism?
Oh, yeah. Because we do a whole section on art and propaganda.
Oh.
And when we do art and power, it's broken down into like, I think I break it down to art and religious power versus we do architecture, and then we do propaganda. So how art and architecture has been made to like show power, because only the richest people can build the biggest buildings to prove that they're in charge. And then also how propaganda has led to major cultural shifts with art as the focus, because propaganda works better if you don't have to read it, because people are, no offense, like sheep and stupid. So like if you can just represent an image over and over again and say that that's truth, then people will believe it. And you can, and that all art is kind of like a time machine. I always say that about art and writing are time machines, because the only way that we can know what they were thinking back then and have it be right here, like right now.
And who are the artists, the propaganda artists right now who you really like, who are really adept at communicating just with an image?
Do I have any propaganda artists that I like?
Well,
would you call that propaganda? The Guerrilla Girls.
Yeah, I'd call that propaganda.
Okay. Yeah,
it's a good message.
Yeah, the Guerrilla Girls, I think, they're like the OGs of it. They really know how to create they kind of do the opposite of what I said, because they use like a lot of text, like a very graphic visual language. It's also, what's her name? Barbara
Kruger?
Yeah. She's also another one who uses the graphic propaganda style text to prove a point. She has that piece that I'm not going to remember now. something about women's rights, women's power. It's just like a statement about women's power,
Right.
and like an image, and it's like very graphic. And Kathleen Hanna, who I'm obsessed with from Bikini Kill, said that artist like changed her life when she realized what text could do to cut through the bullshit of what art presents. Sometimes she says, Kathleen Hanna is amazing. Everybody should read her book, Rebel Girl. It's awesome. And watch the documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's great too. She talks in her book about how she writes her lyrics. And if you listen to Bikini Kill, they're all like, she just says exactly what she's thinking. Like, no beating around the bush. She like, what is it? White Boy. That song has like, don't laugh, don't cry, just die is the chorus.
Oh,
and it's
adorable.
Exactly. So she talks about how the reason why she does that is because she felt like for a long time, the female writers and musicians in her life were relying more on flowery language to get their words across, like poeticness, to prove that they were both intelligent and thoughtful. And
Right.
she was like, I don't think we need to put a patina on it. I think we can just be the hardcore people that we want to be and not try to make it more palatable or more feminine for their, like, I'll be exactly as I was when I thought it, thank you. I don't have to like turn it into poetry.
Right. And do you remember in your youth, through the first time you saw art that made you go, holy fuck, what is that?
Oh my God. That's like,
Right,
that's actually a dangerous question for me because I
Well,
don't.
we only have 12 minutes left, so.
Yes. I don't remember not having seen all the art that I've seen. Like, ever since I came online as a human, my dad has been telling me about the art that's like in our house and in books. And so
right.
I don't remember ever learning about things. I just always knew them because they've been told to me since before I could remember to know them.
Right.
I know that doesn't mean a lot. You're like, yeah, but you probably saw a piece and that like blew your mind.
Yeah.
Every piece of art that I see blows my mind.
Uh-huh.
Every piece of art that I've seen since I grew up, I've been like, that's crazy.
Right.
Wow, this like, there isn't a... I fall in love with a different style every year. Every single time I learn something new about a style or a painter. I fall in love with Van Gogh every year when I learn a new fact about him. I'm constantly listening to art history podcasts that like give me more information. Like, I hated Frida Kahlo when I was a kid. Her stuff was so gross, but I didn't realize that was the point. So like, I always felt a very visceral response to Frida Kahlo. And now that I know what she's been through, I'm like, God damn, why isn't this bloodier?
Right. Well, so to what degree do you think a person's experience with art should be informed by knowing their history or reading the wall text about them?
I am of the camp. There's a few different camps when you go to museum school that we talk about for like how you really think of how people visit art galleries. Some people are there for pictures. Some people are there to read. Some people are there to not read. They're there to look. Some people want to do the whole loop and then stop at individual things. And some people are only there for one piece.
And what kind of person are you of those?
I'm all of them because I've studied it. I'm all of them. I go into a gallery being like, which one am I going to be today? I'll do two different types. I'll walk around the gallery the whole time and stop at a few pieces. And I only came to this show because the Edward Hopper show and I wanted to see this one.
And do you have a policy? Do you always look first and then read, or do you read first and then look?
I only read about pieces that I'm already interested in because I normally am trying to hit a few places at once in a day.
Oh, right.
But there are some shows that I go to because I've already read about them and I want to see how the artwork is executed.
Right.
There are some shows that give so little, that are some more mysterious if you don't know. We went to a Carrie James Marshall exhibition my dad brought me to. We go to the city every single year to the Chelsea Gallery District for my birthday, and we do a loop of all the galleries in that area.
Right.
And my dad took me to see a show of Carrie James Marshall's where my dad's presented me with the information by saying he didn't send out a press release. He just opened this show, so we're going to go see it. He didn't tell anybody. There was no big to-do. There was no promotion. He just put the work together in his own time and put it up in this gallery. We're going to go see that. And I'm like, that's my favorite type of show.
But he's a crazy famous artist.
It is. So I already, yeah. Okay, so that's where you're saying, like, how much does knowing the art history inform? I want you to see the work and then do the research.
Right.
I'm not a big, let me read everything about this person before I get there, because then there's too many preconceived notions. And you should really let the work speak for itself, because the artist wasn't, most of these artists, not all the famous ones, but like the dead ones from forever ago, a lot of them, not the modern artists, but a lot of the other ones before that were just making this stuff because they needed to make it,
Right.
or because they were paid to make it, and so they just needed to execute. And they were not thinking about how it was going to last over time or with a wall text next to it, if there was going to be a curator who would understand it. The first wave of major artists made art solely for commission to be put up in private homes so they'd only be viewed by other rich people.
But if you never, I'm just going to argue here, if you never understood the story of Frida Kahlo, you would have never come around and really loved her work.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that after, though, I have to see it, hate it, think about it for a few years, and then be reintroduced to her with her story.
That's
and then
great.
I have to be like, oh, well, that's why I hated it so much, because I was responding to the point that she was trying to make about how visceral and disgusting these actions were.
Right.
And I don't think it's your job as a viewer of art to be so educated that you can understand. You just have to be educated enough to know what your feelings are about it.
And is there much art out there that you find sort of visually repugnant, but you love anyway?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What's her name? Christina Quarles.
I don't know.
Christina Quarles does these insane, like, neon bodies stretched out, large paintings, I think they are. They're like watercolor and ink. I literally, when I was looking at her work, I went through a phase when every gallery I went into was really obsessed with her. So there'd always be like one piece off in like a solo room by itself whenever I went to a museum. And I was like, why? Again? Ugh. And then I hated her so much that I listened to a podcast about her because I was like, there's gotta be a reason. There's like no heads. It's just like long arms and limbs and weird colored backgrounds and portals in and out of space. And you're like, what the hell is this? It's not even surreal. It's like one step past that. So I was grossed out. So I listened to this podcast about her, and she explains that in high school she was in like an arts performing high school. So she just like did that. So she was an expert by the time she went to college. So for college, she did fine arts and psychology. And her psychology information gave her a very unique perspective on the world. She's also half black, so that's like part of her like weird perspective on the world. Not that makes her weird, but that's how she was entering with it. And she became so aware of how the human body is from our perspective. And so her work is representative of what it looks like to be inside the human form, inside of a head, looking out of the eyes. And from that perspective, all your body is arms and legs and a little bit of torso kind of wandering randomly throughout space because you can't see your head and face and back of your head and neck and throat. So she removes that element from her pieces and she only leaves behind the odd spatial things that would be left behind if you, stop thinking of yourself as a full body, but instead as a like theory operating a machine almost.
Right. The body that's in your personal space.
Exactly. So that's why all of her pieces are like from that weird angle and like
so cool.
All stretched out. And I was like, wow, I think this bitch is a genius. I think she's my new favorite artist now. I still hate looking at her work, but I love telling that story to students when they're like, I hate this. And I'm like, you hate it because she succeeded. Because if she hadn't succeeded, you would feel nothing.
Right. I love that so much. I hate this so much. I need to figure out why.
Exactly.
And people don't, I don't think most people are that introspective.
Yeah, that's what art does. It forces you to, art, I say to artists, the art is only 90% done until somebody sees it out in the world. Because that last 10% is the reaction, the response of the human experience of seeing art and either recognizing it for its genius or rejecting it because you haven't come to it yet. And that is the art as much. That's why I love performance art. Like they really hone in on that experience of being a viewer, viewing something that is happening, having an internal experience about it, and then having to respond back out at what that is.
Right. But you can reject art that you haven't come to
yet.
Or you can reject art for other reasons than you haven't come around to it.
Yeah. Sometimes art is racist or bad. Like, but like, that's the thing. Like, I also tell my students, if they hate something, I'm just like, great, give me a list of 3 reasons why it's bad. Tell me.
I love that so much.
I take my kids to Dia, and it's always a 50-50 split. Half the kids feel so inspired, they think that anything can happen. The other half are like, I could make this. And I'm like, then why didn't you? Why aren't you in here? Famous.
Yeah, go
what? Right? I'll paint a dot on a canvas and bring it to this gallery and tell them that you're a genius. Yeah. If it's really that easy. And they're always just like, well, I guess, because you'd have to like go through. I'm like, exactly.
Oh, well, you have to go through all the marketing of the art too.
Yeah. And also you have to understand that museums don't take art of people off the street. They only collect art of people who are already established in the art world. Every single time you go to a museum, unless they're doing the solo, the contemporary show in this wing, all that art has already gone through all the other sources of art institutions to get to some place where a museum would think that it's worth buying, holding for life,
Right.
and then keeping on its walls on a regular basis. The maintenance that goes into that. So if you really think that you could be in Dia Beacon, then that means that you think that you can be in major New York City galleries because they have to go through that process in order to get there. That means you've also done all the art calls. You've probably gone to art school. So you have regular studio visits then, if
Right.
you can get into Dia. And they're like, oh shit, no, I don't have any of those things. I'm like, so tell me again that you could paint that dot on the wall, because it's not just about the dot. It's about, they apparently made so much other amazing work that this dot is now meaningful.
Right.
That's crazy. Like, did you do all that work? What do you feel about the dot, knowing that that dot is important enough to be here right now? Face that if you're not going to face the work as it visually. Face that reality that, like, someone put in the work so far up that you're now witnessing it.
Yeah. It's
That's so much effort.
We only have 2 minutes left. That's a whole conversation, about marketing, how the market, the curators, the collectors, the dealers,
Yeah.
exalt an artist and individual pieces of art.
So I'm trying to bring that knowledge to Poughkeepsie. That's why I do it. That's why I'm hosting the artist talk at Dutchess Community College on February 26th, is to make sure that people can hear these ideas. I'm kind of on a rampage to get artists paid and to have people understand how not easy, but how uncomplicated curation is, how creative it is, how it's an accessible job that anyone can do, and inspire young curators to take control of their own communities and start building these ephemeral communities. Just bring artists together, make them talk to each other, go out and see local art, and see if you can build a new idea.
So do you think that curation is something that anybody can do?
Absolutely. I thought in high school I wanted to be a curator, and I dismissed that thought immediately because I thought I wasn't rich or well connected enough.
Okay.
It turns out what I actually needed was to know artists. Just to know artists and to be good at executing a job. And I can do those two things, and those are all you need to be a curator. Can you execute, and do you know artists?
You don't think it's important to sort of know art history?
You should, but you'll develop that. What's more about artist communication, understanding what artists need, building a platform for them to be at their best, and helping them get into spaces that then they can create new history with that. So you can be reliant on the old history, but we're really trying to build new history by knowing the old history. So if you build new history first, I'm super on board with that.
Right. That's so cool. Jaime Ransome, thank you so much for being here. We've got like 30 seconds left, and I'm going to lay down this question. If you were in a desert island or a desert loft in Soho, and you could only have one piece of art, and you can't choose your dad.
I can't choose my dad.
What would it be?
There's an Edward Hopper piece that's just a ballerina. She's got her full tutu on. She's sitting with her back to you, and you're almost like looking into a window at her, and it looks like she's maybe stitching up something to fix it. I stood in front of that piece for like 20 minutes when I went to the Edward Hopper show at the Whitney. It's my favorite thing.
I love that. The power of art to move. Well, Jaime Ernestina Ransome, thank you so much for being here. Everybody go see her show at say again where it is?
Mildred Washington Gallery on Dutchess Community College's campus. It's called Weird Sisters. It opens February 25th is the opening reception.
And go to, I'm guessing, dcc.edu?
Yes. And also go see Crazy. It closes on February 8th at Bow Gallery in Beacon.
Thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great Friday night and a fabulous weekend. Thanks to the Epicurean, as always, for hosting, and producer extraordinaire, Matt.